Okay, so I've rounded up insights from 10 different XRP chart analysts for this video, and one of them, who's got a pretty big following, just dropped something interesting. XRP has hit oversold levels for the first time in over a year. But here's where it gets wild. He's also showing a chart that says if the past is any indicator of what's coming, we're talking about XRP potentially hitting close to $18 by the time this market cycle wraps up. Now, I already know what's going through your head right now. You're probably asking yourself, what's up with XRP? Is this time actually different? Okay, yeah, let's address the elephant in the room. Last cycle, XRP didn't reach a new all-time high, and we all know exactly why. The SEC lawsuit. That's not news to anyone. But even with all that drama, XRP still followed the same structural pattern and timeline it always has. If you go back to 2021, XRP moved just like it did in 2017, which was its most explosive, parabolic run we'd ever seen at that point. And there's a consistent pattern we've seen play out. XRP does this first big price surge, then roughly 6 months later we get a second surge, and that tends to be the final one. And then naturally the market cycle wraps up, right? That's what we've seen happen time and time again. But here's the thing with this current cycle. Yeah, we've been hitting new all-time highs left and right, but we haven't gotten that crazy final parabolic rally that usually puts a bow on everything. And honestly, it's taking way longer than it ever has before to reach that point. Look, we can't ignore this anymore. Either something's actually broken here, or this thing is just dragging its feet like never before. So what's the deal? Is something actually broken with XRP? Is there something seriously wrong here? We're going to dive into all of that, but let me just tell you right up front, the short answer, at least from where I'm sitting, is no. Okay, so real talk before we get started here. I need to be super upfront with you. I have absolutely zero financial background, like none. I'm not a financial advisor, I don't pretend to be one, and please don't go buying or selling stuff because of me. That would be wild and not a good idea. So as I'm sitting here filming this, it's October 18th, 2025. XRP's chilling at $2.34, and Bitcoin just barely crossing that $107,000 mark. Basically another day of not much happening, just sideways movement. But hang on, before we really jump into things, I gotta show you something that caught my eye. Check this out. It's a photo of a page from Anthony Pompliano's book. Full disclosure, I haven't actually gotten around to reading his whole book, but this one page, man, I absolutely love it. The guy literally used an entire page just to slap this message up there in massive text. And this is basically his entire investment philosophy. Here's the thing though, this is my approach too. Like, this is it, the whole strategy. I'm not hiding some magic formula from you. There's nothing I'm trying to pitch you here. No course, no program, no nothing. I genuinely have zero things to sell. Heck, I don't even have sponsors running on my channel, and trust me, I could if I wanted to. Maybe someday I'll flip on that switch, who knows, but right now, nah. So anyway, this is what he printed in that book. The best investors in the world are really good at doing nothing for long periods of time. Well, folks, that's me, because after I buy stuff, I literally do nothing. I've been sitting on XRP since 2017, and honestly, it's worth way more now than what I originally put in. How did I pull that off? Simple. I've been ridiculously stubborn, insanely patient. I just waited, and then bam, the market went wild. And here's what gets me excited. We're not even close to done. I seriously don't think this thing has peaked yet. My gut tells me it's heading way higher than where it is today. But look, I need to stress something here. Patience isn't some cute little tip when you're trying to build serious life-altering wealth in crypto. It's the whole game. And right now, nothing's falling apart. Here's what people forget. We don't get to snap our fingers and decide when these markets explode. But what we totally control is whether we're actually positioned in these markets when they start ripping upward like crazy. So handle what's in your hands and let go of everything else. Which means if we slide into a bear market, and just so we're clear, I don't believe that's happening. But if we do, and the pessimists nail this call, I'll just be like, okay, fine, I missed that one. And then what? I'm literally going to keep doing nothing. Why? Because markets always bounce back. And when this one bounces back, probably years from now, I'll cash out for even more than my current target because prices will push even higher by then. So however this plays out, I come out ahead. And if you've got that mindset locked in, if you've got that genuine conviction, let me throw something out there. If you're betting everything on a fat crypto payday to finally turn your life around and make you smile, stop. Just stop thinking like that. I'm saying this as a friend. Look, I've lived a bit. I'm not some old geezer, but I'm 42 years old at this point. I've collected enough scars and lessons to tell you straight up, if money's your magic fix, if that's what you're waiting on to repair everything, you've got the whole equation flipped. You need to find peace with your life now before any of that money hits your account because cash doesn't repair broken things. It really doesn't. Fix what needs fixing today. If that big payday is what you're hanging all your hopes on, that's honestly a miserable way to exist. You're not actually present anymore. Like, what's happening to you right now? You're basically wandering through each day half asleep, just fantasizing about this windfall and praying it'll rescue you. And yeah, it might show up. I'm not saying it won't. It definitely can. This isn't some fantasy land we're talking about here. Like, you absolutely can get stupid rich in crypto. That's real. But here's what I'm trying to tell you. If you're not finding joy in every single day right now, if you're not discovering reasons to stay optimistic and feel good about life as it is, you're missing the whole point. Figure out how to fix that part first. Because if you're banking on this dream scenario, and yeah, I'll admit, it could totally happen. I'm definitely betting on it. But if you're expecting that to solve all your problems, let me save you some time. Spoiler alert, it's not going to do that. And here's the kicker. You could waste years with that broken mindset. If that's how you're thinking, you might throw away the next few years of your actual life. Like, what if we really are sliding into a bear market? You could burn through the next several years just waiting around for that moment. Why not flip the script and fix your headspace now so you can actually enjoy those years? Get yourself mentally straight, and then when the wealth does show up, which it absolutely can, you'll be ready to enjoy that too. This isn't some pipe dream I'm selling you. You genuinely can get ridiculously wealthy in crypto. My own life proves it. I'm not dropping numbers because that's just not my style and I'm not comfortable with it, but my net worth is way, way higher than it would have been if I'd never touched crypto. I've been in this space for 8 years, and honestly, all I've done is nothing after buying my positions. I just refuse to quit. I buy stuff and then I just don't touch it. That's literally it. That's why I don't have some fancy course to sell you, right? It's stupidly simple. People just struggle to actually do it for some reason. But here's the thing. It works. So I'm just going to keep doing exactly that. The best investors out there, they're masters at doing absolutely nothing for crazy long stretches of time. I just wanted to hammer that home and remind everyone because it's just the truth. And it makes zero sense to be scared the whole time just because the market bounces around. Markets have been wild for over 16 years now. We've got 16 solid years of data showing you it's doing exactly what you should expect. So you're going to bail out, you're going to let fear take over because it's doing what it's always done for 16 years. That doesn't even track logically. I get it, humans feel this stuff, emotions are powerful, but that's exactly why I'm here trying to show you you don't need to live like that. You really don't have to wake up terrified every single day. So check this out. Chart analyst Zoom just dropped a post asking, how are you not bullish on XRP? And what he's doing here is genius. He's literally stacking up what's happening right now against 2017, which, if you remember, was when XRP went absolutely nuts with some of the craziest price action we've ever seen. His whole point? This thing isn't finished. He's convinced we're watching the exact same pattern play out all over again. But here's what I mentioned at the start of this video, and this is really interesting. Historically, XRP does this thing where it pumps hard on that first major leg up. Then what happens? It just chills sideways for like 6 months. Then boom, it rips higher again. So if you look at the structure, forget the timing for a second, just the pure structure. It's doing the exact same dance. We got that move up. We've been consolidating since then. We're literally just chopping sideways right here. We've printed a few all-time highs, which has been incredible to watch. The same exact thing went down in 2017. So it climbed from half a penny all the way to 42 cents, first time ever hitting those levels, then crashed back down below 20 cents. I can't remember the exact bottom, maybe 13, 14, 15 cents, somewhere in there. I'd need to pull up the chart to check, but the point is it dropped hard. Then just hung out, consolidating around that 20 cent range for about 6 months before it absolutely exploded to $3.35 to finish off that cycle. Now, here's the thing. We haven't gotten that next leg up yet, and that's what makes this so exciting. We've already hit $3.65 this market cycle without that final move happening. I genuinely believe it's still coming. Look, I'll be real with you. I would actually be worried about this if the rest of the market was moving in a normal cyclical time frame, and XRP was the only one acting weird. Yeah, I'll admit it, that would make me think something might be broken here, but that's not what's happening, folks. That is not the case at all. I'm going to come back to this point in just a second. So Chart Nerd is totally on board with this idea. He's literally saying we're about to see history repeat itself. He even dropped a post side by side comparing where we are in 2025 with what went down back in 2017. And look, I'm not saying every single analyst I follow is screaming this from the rooftops, but a ton of them bring it up all the time. They keep pointing out these wild similarities between what's playing out right now and what we saw happen in 2017. The patterns are just there. And you know what? The great Matt B is picking up on this too, and he's actually tackling that exact concern I've been talking about. So check this out. He's pulled up the XRP price chart that goes all the way back to late 2013. Yeah, we're talking the entire history of XRP price action right here on the screen. So the great Matt B breaks it down and says XRP is repeating what it did back in 2017. Consolidate sideways for months until it touched the 20-month moving average. After that, it shot up to finish off the cycle. It looks to be setting up that way again. Since XRP finally touched the 20-month moving average, it's just taking a little longer this cycle because everything is taking longer this cycle. And that's exactly why you can actually relax about this whole situation. I mean, think about it. If XRP was the only one lagging behind right now, then yeah, we'd have a real problem on our hands. That would be seriously different and worth worrying about. Why isn't this thing exploding right now? The entire market's on fire, so what's the deal with XRP just chilling there? But hold on, that's not really where we are. Look at what's actually happening. Bitcoin hasn't gone full parabolic yet with that crazy blow off top. Alt season, nowhere in sight. And we definitely haven't hit that stage where crypto Twitter turns into pure madness and everyone's posting rocket emojis nonstop. You know what I'm talking about. That moment where if you even whisper that things might cool down, people absolutely roast you in the comments. They'll tell you you're an idiot, that you're totally lost and have no clue what you're saying. But guess what? It always ends. Every single time. Markets don't just find bottoms, they find tops too. That's just reality. But none of those warning signs are flashing yet. Since we're not seeing any of that stuff, honestly, I'm not stressed about it. The bigger question we should be asking is, what's really happening here? Which brings us right to this. You want the actual explanation? I'm telling you, this is hands down the best one I've seen from any chart analyst I follow. So check out this post from chart analyst TechDev. He dropped this for his 551,000 followers on X, and he kept it super simple. Just wrote longest runway yet. Above that, he's got this Bitcoin chart stretched all the way back to 2013. Now look at the bottom part. He's got the business cycle signal down there. This is a huge metric you need to watch. That's what you're seeing at the bottom of this chart. And here's where it gets interesting. You can see how Bitcoin cycle peaks line up with business cycle peaks. Every single cycle going back over 10 years. That's exactly what this chart is showing us. TechDev has been hammering this point home, and he's not alone. Raoul Pal and Julian Biddle keep bringing this up too. These three guys won't stop talking about it, and for good reason. These are the three analysts I follow who won't shut up about this, in a good way. And here's the thing, they're holding a minority opinion. They've been sticking to it for ages now. I think they started talking about it either late last year or maybe early this year. Honestly, I can't remember exactly when. But for months and months, they've been pounding this drum saying, hey, everyone, listen up. The business cycle is stretching out way longer than previous cycles. And because of that, we're not going to see the crypto market top out until 2026, maybe even as late as Q2 26. So yeah, it's a minority take, but here's what matters. This is coming from some of the smartest, most respected analysts I follow. These guys know their stuff. I mean, there's a reason Raoul Pal has over 1.2 million followers on X. The man is one of the biggest names in all of crypto, and he's one of the main people pushing this idea hard. Now, he's not sitting there guaranteeing he's right, he's not making promises, but he strongly believes this is what's happening. He's said it himself multiple times. He really thinks this is the case. So if that's the case, there's your answer for why XRP hasn't exploded yet. And listen, you don't need a PhD for this. If you've got one functioning eyeball in your head, you can see what I'm getting at here. Just look at how dragged out this whole thing is compared to last cycle and the cycle before. It's all about the business cycle, folks. When you see that business cycle metric pop up on a chart like this one, here's what it actually means. It's tracking where the economy is in its whole expansion-contraction dance. That's the entire deal with this metric. When it's firing on all cylinders and going up, liquidity floods in and risky plays like crypto go wild. When it tanks, and guess what? We're sitting at rock bottom right now, everything grinds down. Money dries up and risky assets get hammered. That's some of what happens in these phases. So when analysts like tech devs slap the business cycle onto crypto charts, what they're really showing you is how Bitcoin and the whole market ride these giant liquidity waves that push everything around. Stocks, real estate, digital assets, the whole enchilada. Now here's the question. What's actually inside this business cycle metric? Look, this thing pulls from a bunch of different data points. We're talking industrial production, manufacturing numbers, employment stats, how consumers are feeling about the economy, money supply growth, global M2, housing numbers, all that stuff. It's not like any single one of these drives everything, which is why you won't see it perfectly line up with even global M2 alone. Although I gotta say, M2 is an incredible indicator for where we're headed. We've got over 10 years of data showing that about 90% of the time, Bitcoin and the broader crypto market follow what global M2 is doing. But this composite, it gives you a really solid picture. Now, I'm not sitting here claiming I know this is 100% correct. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but here's what I will tell you. I've talked to tons of analysts in the crypto space, read countless explanations, and this is hands down the best one I've come across. Everything else I've read, I just kind of roll my eyes at. Like, yeah, that doesn't really add up. This one actually makes sense. So if we really are in an extended cycle, and by the way, the longer this goes on, I'm seeing more and more analysts saying, yep, we're extending, this is dragging out further than expected, this explanation holds up better than anything else I've seen. Okay, so if this thing's actually gonna flip and heat up, shooting to the upside like we're expecting, yeah, it might need a little time to build up, but honestly, we're super close already. That tells us that in 2026, we're still gonna see that peak hit. And XRP is still gonna go on an absolute tear. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why would this be happening? I've covered this way more in depth in some other videos, so I won't dive too deep here, but basically, these 4-year cycles we keep seeing, they come down to debt refinancing. Entities usually refinance somewhere in that 3 to 5 year window, and it averages out to around 4 years. That's why we've been watching this pattern ever since the great financial crisis. That's what got the whole thing started. But here's the kicker. Raoul Pal's been pointing out that recently, debt refinancing is actually averaging 5 years instead of 4. Okay, so here's the thing. We're watching this play out right now, and this is what he thinks is pushing the business cycle to last longer than usual. That's the argument he's making. And honestly, it's pretty bullish. Look, I find it really compelling. Do I know for sure if he's right? No, of course not. Nobody does. But out of all the explanations I've come across, this one makes the most sense to me. And here's where it gets interesting. It actually explains what we're seeing in the markets. Bitcoin hit an all-time high near $126,000. We've seen some altcoins pump, XRP had a nice run, but we still haven't seen that crazy full-blown alt season everyone's waiting for. When you step back and look at the whole picture, it all starts to click. Everything we're seeing fits together if you buy into this framework. Yeah, and the longer this goes on, the more I'm starting to think they might actually be onto something here. A few months back, I was pretty skeptical, right? It was a tougher pill to swallow. But now we're getting closer to the end of 2025, and think about it, we still haven't seen that wild euphoria phase everyone talks about. Meanwhile, global M2 is just sitting there near all-time highs. The business cycle still needs to catch up to all that liquidity. The more I dig into this stuff, the more I'm like, okay, maybe they're actually right about this. Maybe there really is something here. We'll see how it plays out, but here's what I know. Either way, I still think it's coming. It's just a matter of when. And check this out. There's a post from Crypto Insight UK, and they've got the XRP USD chart pulled up on screen right now. So he's saying XRP hit the oversold area on the daily relative strength index during this recent flush for the first time since 38 cents. I have overlaid the exact same fractal on a logarithmic scale, no resizing. This is what a measured move would look like. Okay, so check this out because this is actually pretty wild. You see that white line? That's the fractal he dropped in there. But here's where it gets really interesting. Look down at the RSI. This is exactly what he's been talking about. We just hit oversold territory for the first time in a while. And just so we're all on the same page, oversold means you're sitting at 30 or below on this scale. The whole thing runs from 0 to 100. If you hit 70 or above, that's when you're in overbought territory. Here's the crazy part. This is the first time we've been oversold since July of last year. I'm talking 2024, folks. Back when XRP was trading at what, like 38 cents? Pretty wild, right? So he laid down this fractal pattern, and if you follow it through, if it plays out the same way it did before, we're looking at something just under $18. And you know what they say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. Hey, so I've been sitting here just thinking about this whole thing, right? Like, even if this cycle stretches all the way into 2026, and let's say the tech devs are right, Julian Biddle's right, Ralph Hall's right, even if that happens, it's still a cycle. It's still going to play out. Because think about it. Are we seriously supposed to believe that if we hit a bear market, humans just suddenly stop being humans? Like, people aren't going to take profits anymore? They're not going to rotate into other coins when things pump? What, everyone just stopped being greedy overnight? Their entire DNA just changed and now nobody cares about maximizing profits? Come on, that makes zero sense. And here's the thing that really gets me. CoinMarketCap tracks 30 top cycle indicators, right? The metrics that historically signal when we're hitting a top. You know how many of those have flipped right now? Zero. Not one. Not a single one out of 30. So what are we saying here? That none of them work anymore? They worked in every single market cycle before this one, but now they're all just broken, just like that? I'm not buying it. I really don't find that argument compelling at all. And this is exactly why I keep hammering this point. You cannot just stare at charts and think you've got the whole picture. Chart analysis alone isn't going to give you a reasonable read on what's actually probable here. Look, here's the thing. You've got to zoom out and see the bigger picture. I'm talking historical trends, the macro environment, business cycles, global liquidity, all that stuff. You need it all on the table before you can figure out what's actually likely to happen next. And yeah, chart analysis, absolutely part of the puzzle. But here's where people mess up. They look at just one thing and think they've got it figured out. You can't do that. You've got to piece together a bunch of different angles. That's exactly why I follow so many analysts. I've got chart people, macro people, some folks who only do traditional finance. I'm pulling from all over the place. And honestly, if you listen to smart people who actually have solid track records, you're going to have a pretty decent sense of what's probably coming. That's literally what I spend tons of time doing. For someone like me without a finance background, that's hands down the smartest move you can make. Find the people who really know their stuff, who stay informed, and most importantly, make sure they've actually got results to back it up. So if you track these people over time, and trust me, I've been doing this for years now with most of these folks, you start to get a real sense of who they are. That's honestly why I love making these videos. I'm sharing what I think is genuinely valuable stuff here. I put serious time into this. I'm literally tracking these people every single day. And you know what? It's fun. It really is. It's a labor of love for me. But here's the thing, there's something real here. For regular people like you and me, and I know that's most of you watching right now, we're not finance people. That's not our background. You can still win at this. You can figure this out. But you've got to be careful who you're listening to. I've learned that one the hard way. All right, check this out. Stepha's Crypto just posted something, and guess what? He's making the exact same point I just made. XRP is extremely oversold. Millionaires will be made in the next 1 to 2 months. Okay, so timing. I can't give you an exact date. Could happen soon, totally possible. Could drag into 2026, that's possible too. But what I can tell you is this: we're oversold, big time. And I genuinely think the best part is still coming. Now here's where it gets interesting. That same day, Stephis Crypto spotted the exact same thing I did. Look at the RSI down here, oversold for the first time in over a year. And you know how oversold works, right? You can't stay down there forever. At some point, it's gotta flip. It's the same story when things get overbought. You hit that overbought zone and yeah, it can hang out there for a bit. You'll see this massive strength build up and then bam, new all-time highs that nobody saw coming. Bottom line, markets always find their tops and bottoms. Doesn't matter which indicator you're staring at. So seeing this right now, that's actually a good sign. All right, here's what chart analyst Casey Trades posted. I'm not going to read this whole thing, it's pretty long and we don't have all day. But basically, she's warning that yeah, we could drop lower from here. That's possible. But here's the key part. Even if we do drop, it doesn't change her bigger picture at all. She's still expecting XRP to absolutely rampage on the next leg up. We're talking somewhere between $6.50 to $10. So short-term pain, maybe, but long-term, she's not backing down from that call. Check out this post from Crypto Patel. XRP on the edge of something big. XRP just broke out of a multi-year downtrend and is retesting major support at $2 to $1.70. Holding this zone keeps the bullish structure intact. A break above $3.30 could ignite a run towards $5 and even $10. ... So there you go, another analyst who thinks we're headed for double digits. And here's what matters. What's happened so far hasn't broken the higher time frame structure. That's still holding. All right, now let's look at what chart analyst Javon Marks is saying. XRP currently holding a hidden bullish divergence in this, indicating movement back towards the $3.40 levels. At that point, prices will be above a key level, which brings $4.80 into play, and we could see a continuation towards the meeting of it. $4.80 is over 100% away, so this divergence could spark a much larger move than many think. So check this out. He's still bullish on XRP. And you know what? What just went down didn't even break it. Look, XRP wasn't special here. The entire market got absolutely wrecked about a week and a half ago. We're talking liquidation city across the board. But here's the thing. He's saying the best part is still coming, and I keep seeing this same vibe everywhere. These are the analysts who actually nailed the XRP breakout call this cycle. We're not talking about random people throwing darts at a board. These folks have solid track records with XRP specifically, and guess what? Not a single one of them has turned bearish. That's pretty telling if you ask me. All right, so Crypto Seth, the chart guy, just posted something interesting. He's asking, can you feel XRP doing this soon? Look at how precisely that wick retested the midline. He's pointing at this yellow line right here. This is a key level we need to watch. And get this, in the short term, he's eyeing $5.70 as a target. So here's what I'm seeing. Nobody's flipping bearish. Like, I follow a bunch of analysts, and out of all of them, the closest thing to someone actually flipping would be the blockchain backer. Now, he's been pretty clear about his stance. He thinks it's more likely than not that we're already in a bear market. He's the only person I follow who's actually saying that out loud. Could he be right? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not personally convinced we're there yet, but here's the thing about the blockchain backer. He's held minority opinions before that turned out to be spot on. So massive respect to him. I'll actually give you an example of this. It's the one I bring up all the time. Back in 2021, he called Bitcoin's peak at around $70,000. That was not a popular take. People actually made fun of him for it. And guess what? He nailed it. So yeah, right now saying we're entering a bear market is definitely a minority opinion. Out of everyone I follow, and I'm talking about the traditional finance guys, the chart analysts, the macro people, the blockchain backer is literally the only one saying we're almost certainly in a bear market already. He's been pretty vocal about it too. And look, if he ends up being right on this one, full credit to him, no question. I hope he's wrong. And you know what? HE hopes he's wrong too. We all want to see prices go higher. That's better for everyone, including him. It's just that he's calling what he sees in the charts, and right now that's what he's seeing. Can't fault the guy for sticking to his analysis. Look, I just haven't seen enough data yet that makes me go, okay, yeah, I'm convinced. Because when you zoom out and look at the full picture, not just the charts, but the actual history of how traditional finance works, and crypto follows those same patterns pretty closely, when you add in all the macro stuff happening right now, and especially what I mentioned about the business cycle and global M2, that story makes way more sense to me. So do your thing, draw your own conclusions. I'm not sitting here saying I know exactly what's coming. I'm doing the same thing everyone else is doing. I'm looking at the data, seeing how it hits me, and forming my opinion based on what I'm seeing. And right now, this is where I've landed. Now, will I change my mind? Absolutely. If more data comes in, if other analysts bring something compelling to the table, and I mean really compelling, not just chart patterns, but what's actually happening in the macro environment, yeah, I'll flip. I have no problem admitting I was wrong. I just haven't seen that yet. You'll have to give me something better to work with. So chart analyst CW posted something interesting. He says there's a sell wall for XRP that sits right at $2.48. Above that, he thinks it's pretty much open sky. Now, sure, new sell walls can pop up anytime, but that's a level worth watching, at least based on what he's seeing right now at the time I'm recording this. Look, nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. Anyone who tells you they do is full of it. Either they're way overconfident or they're straight up lying. But here's the thing, it's totally fine to have strong conviction. And I do, I really do. Right now, whether I end up being right or wrong, my conviction is that we're going to see this crypto market, XRP included, absolutely rip higher before we finally top out for this cycle. And then we're done. Here's the good part though. Remember what I said earlier about the best strategy being to do nothing? The best investors in the world are incredibly good at sitting on their hands for long stretches of time. So if I'm wrong, which, yeah, I could be, I acknowledge that's possible. I'm wrong sometimes. My read on things, even big things, can miss the mark. That's just reality. It happens to everyone. So what happens if everything crashes tomorrow? You know what I'm gonna do? Absolutely nothing. I'm gonna sit tight, hold my positions, and keep living my life. Because here's the wild part. I'm already stoked about my life right now. Like, things are legitimately fantastic. I'll just keep doing my thing, cruising through life, stacking a little more cash when it comes in, buying more when I can. And yeah, eventually I'll sell and hit that absurd, ridiculous wealth level. But until then, man, life is already good. And if you're sitting there thinking you need a 7-figure portfolio before you can be happy, let me tell you something. Get there without the money first. Find a way. That's not just good advice, that's essential. I'm already at that place. I don't need to wait for some massive payday to unlock my quote unquote real life like it's some video game achievement. That's insane. That's backwards. This is it. This is the real life. The one you're living right this second. So enjoy it. You literally get one. Have some fun. Figure out how to be happy now, not later. Sure, terrible things happen. Life throws curveballs. But there's also so much incredible stuff happening all around you. Get your head in the right place. It's worth the effort, even if positivity doesn't come naturally to you. Some of us have to work harder at it, but do the work anyway. It matters. That's exactly why I'm saying, look, if I have to wait another 3, 4, 5 years, I'm cool with it. I'll be totally fine. And when it makes sense to sell, I'll sell. Here's the reality. I can't control any of this anyway. Whether I'm dead right about this bull market or completely wrong and we're heading into a bear, it doesn't matter. I have zero control over what the market does. None. What's going to happen is going to happen. The only thing I actually control? Whether I'm in the game or not. And I am. I'm making sure I've got skin in the game. So if the market dips, I'll just scoop up even more, which means next time it rips, I'll be even richer. Win-win. Either scenario works out fine. It's just not worth the stress. Seriously. Live your life. Be content. Be happy. Do stuff that actually matters to you. Everything's going to work out. That's the truth. And honestly, that message needs to be shouted from the rooftops in investing circles, especially in crypto, way more than it is right now. So I'm going to keep saying it because I genuinely believe it's the right approach. Oh, and obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't buy or sell anything just because I said something. Do your own thing.